Hello, Internet podcast world. That over there is Abraham Delgado. He is a typical millennial. I'm Stephen Holman. I am the last year of a baby boomer, but I stayed back a year, so I went to school with the first year Gen Xers, so I don't know what I am, but somewhere in there. And this is Age Gap. And we have one topic that we've already talked about. Now, given me, I tend to go down a lot of different rabbit holes, so that one topic is probably going to carry us through really well. But we just talk about the issues of the day and listen to different perspectives based on our get this age gap.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I feel tired, like I was saying before we started. I did this breath work session on Friday night, and it was actually my mom sent it to me, and she sends me like 100 things a day of just like, oh, you should check this out. But this was the one thing that I caught, and I was like, actually, like, oh, this looks, I've heard of this before, I've seen it before, this type of stuff, and so I was immediately drawn to it, and I took that as a sign. I was like, okay, usually people will send me things, even friends will send me stuff like, oh, have you seen this? Check this out. This is cool. Oh, we should go like to this restaurant, whatever. But like this thing caught my attention, and I felt like, oh, I should do this. So I immediately jumped at it. Um, anyways, yeah. So boom, took the opportunity to do it Friday night. Um, it's okay. The best way I can explain it is it's a breath work like exercise that gets you. Somebody said hyperventilating. Somebody said it takes you out of like your. It sort of like takes you out of like your mind and body. Like it disconnects in that same way. Somebody
Just
likened
through
it to
breathing?
ayahuasca. Say it again.
Just through breathing
Just
exercise?
through. This is purely breathing. This is purely like just doing that. We're just literally going in and out, and it's a rhythm, but it's also like there's for the lack. I don't even want to say shaman. I'm not going to call him a shaman. I'm just going to call the person leading this whole session. And so I'm in this banquet hall of the Hilton in Pasadena, and I'm like on the floor with a yoga mat and a small like blanket and a pillow under my neck, and I'm just going for it. Like I'm like, all right, two things. I could actually feel the fear of death. Like I'm like, oh, I'm afraid of dying. I could like that. That's you know what I mean. Like you're like, oh, like I could die. That's what I'm afraid of. As soon as like he like brings it up because it's a very like, hey, I know like you guys are. There's probably a number of you who are afraid of dying. You're not gonna die.
Oh my God, he knew that?
But yeah, but it's like it's like taking mushrooms and then thinking like, what if I die though on this? And it's like, are you actually going to die on this, or is that just like your body and like your mind like worried? And it's like, oh, I'm just worried. So that's that feeling. The other feeling too is looking like a fool because I'm in a room with tons of people too. This isn't like, oh, this isn't 10, 50 people. This is like, I want to say there was like 200 people in here at least.
Really?
Yeah, it was a shit ton of people. And what's like the demographic of people in there? It's a lot of like yoga moms,
Really?
like 40 to 50-year old, uh, mostly women who it's like clearly like a lot of the men that were there where like some of them were like dragged from like a girlfriend or a wife, and some other dudes are like yoga guys. Like you could, it's like that. You know what I mean? Like you could tell that there's that sort of vibe, and then there's a person like me. I'm not necessarily a yoga dude. I like yoga, but like I'm open to these sort of practices, so that's why I'm there. So it's little thing, like it's like, that's the type of person who's in the building. And again, I get there, I'm kind of just like setting up my whole mat. I'm looking around, I'm just not exactly sure what's going to happen. The dude comes out, he's a really young guy, super tall, white, like Eastern European looking type of guy. And then he starts talking to us, kind of calming us down, giving his backstory a bit. And he wants to get us comfortable to a place where we feel like we can, again, because there is an initial, like you can tell it's in the room. It's not thick, but you can tell people are like, I'm afraid of looking like a fool. Like I've seen videos of people doing this. They're like letting out emotions. They're crying. They're screaming. They're like howling. They're just letting things go. They're purging. And so I'm afraid of doing that. Like I'm afraid of doing that in front of tons and tons of people. That's the initial feeling. And so everyone's kind of like, okay, like who's afraid to look like a fool and who's not afraid to look like a fool, and just that's a bit of that. But I was definitely afraid of looking like a fool. Initially, that's why it was like for 2 days I thought about this. I was like, do I really want to do this? I don't even know if I want to do it. But again, I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And as soon as I let myself go, when I was there in it, at that point, I just said, okay, let's just follow the direction. Let's just follow the direction. He's going to tell us what to do. He's going to, he started us off doing this like slow beating rhythm of breathing, just purely like through the mouth. Cause usually I'm used to like hearing people talk about breath work, like, oh, don't do mouth breathing, like do it through your nose. Right. Be very conscious of that. But this time it was purely just of the mouth, having a very focused, like it's all about getting as much air in, getting as much air out at a certain rhythm, focus to getting the air all the way, the breath and into the stomach and, then into the lungs. Again, then getting it all out, and then eventually it's about mindfully collecting the breath into the entire body while you're laying down, and you have your body like you're laid out looking at the ceiling of this fucking hotel banquet ceiling, and you're just kind of But at this point now, I'm eyes closed, so like I'm here I'm fully committed, and he starts to talk to you and like allow you to. He's kind of even directing the mind, because it's not just about the breath at a certain point. Like the mind you start to feel this buzzing feeling through your body. Have I lost you on any of it? Are you here with me about this whole thing?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Okay, so that right there, like the body is buzzing. I can feel that I could just feel that my body is just like primed for like not necessarily a sensory deprivation, because it's like I could feel my body, but I don't necessarily feel like I have a lot of tension in my neck. I have a lot of tension in my lower back. I have tension in my in my legs, and some of my body feels a little crooked at times or whatever. And I'm very aware of those things if I'm just like laying down. But while this is happening, I start to lose that. Like I'm not aware of those things right now. That's not what I'm paying attention to. And it's
I'm sorry. Do you feel like you're getting into a trance?
Yeah, there's that. It feels like a trance. but it's not necessarily, it doesn't feel like a trance. It just feels meditative. Like a meditative state is, you know, like where you're there and like you can just like, you're like, oh shit, okay, like I could zone out of what's going on and just be here now, like that sort of feeling. And that's what I started to, but I felt that in a like in a big way. Like I'm like, okay, like a lot of things are gone. I'm here now. And then he started to like sort of talk to us into like, hey, it's okay to feel things. Hey, it's okay to, if you have stress, like first it's like, hey, if you feel like you've been stressed about your day or you feel like you've had a lot that you've been carrying lately, like start to let that go. And then one by one, like little things that you just start to think about, it feels like things are just starting to fall off of you. And you start to just get into this like, okay, less and less tension throughout your body. While that's happening though, my body is like cranked. Like I'm not like, oh, I'm like nicely relaxed, like I'm getting a massage right now. Like my arms are are out right like at my side, and I could feel like they're stretched out, like they're flexing. Like they're not like still like relaxed. They're flexing. Like it's the best way I can explain it is just saying I'm like cranked, like they're cranked up. Like my entire body is like feeling it. It's not tense, but there is a tension. It just feels like it's like that's like the best way I can explain it. Yeah.
This is amazing to me.
Also, have you ever heard of anything like this?
No.
Okay. So this is like kind of new to you in what you're hearing about this. So
Totally new.
Okay, the reason why I even initially was open to this was there's this man named Wim Hof who it's like this old not like old, but you know, I guess sort of like boomer white guy aged fucking like European dude who is like just a gnarly guy, like does like ice plunges, has climbed up Everest in like swim trunks and like boots, like that was it, like completely shirtless, and like just does like gnarly like mind over matter things. Like that's his whole thing is talking about how like our mind is so much more powerful than we think it is.
Yeah.
And he did this video with these YouTuber kids named Yes Theory. And I had seen that video, and I'd seen the Vice video at first with him, and then these guys, Yes Theory, did a full video with them. And while they're there, like at his place, he's doing this breath work where he's having them in a room, and like it's kind of like the same thing. Like they're all laying down, doing the hard breathing, all that stuff. And then a lot of them start to cry. A lot of them even start some of them start to like convulse. It looks scary. Like if you're just like watching a video of somebody doing this, it looks kind of scary. You're kind of like, oh shit, is that person okay right now? Like they're kind of like it, not necessarily they're possessed, but again, like they're convulsing. Like you're like, oh shit, like someone needs to like step in here. And but at the end of it, this person is talking like just the elation. I guess is that the word, right? You know, like just to feel that like release and to feel and what it is too is you are surfacing up things to let them go, because these things are in your body. They're held here in your body. And like that is what I was experiencing when my body is like cranked up. I could feel that tension, all these, again, and another word that I don't like to use it lightly, and I don't like to overuse it, but it's the best word I could think of, and it's trauma. And it's the traumas of your life that you feel and you've experienced, and now it's placed in you somewhere. It's held, it's almost like it's muscle memory of your trauma, where you've like, the best way I was explaining it to a friend of mine, one of my earliest memories is when I was a child, my parents getting into a fight, and I came out with the little like T-ball baseball bat, to go protect my mom from my dad. Not that my dad was like doing something violent, but like that was my initial reaction to that scenario. And so, and not because just because of that, but anytime I hear like people arguing or yelling, like there's a literal physical tension reaction to it, where I start to tense up. And all that tension is like, again, it's like muscle memory. Do you know what I'm talking, like, do you ever experience anything like that?
Not consciously, but listening to you, I feel like I understand what you're saying and I can relate to it.
Okay. So that feeling
Yeah.
is that feeling of like tension, holding, again, it's the idea that like when we are feeling these things, we don't just feel them emotionally, we will place them in our body. That's what I was feeling. And that's what I was understanding as I'm laying there, that like when I'm doing this breath work, it is allowing me to, and I was visualizing this. I even intended to visualize it this way, because I remember thinking about like, oh, what do I want out of this? And I thought of myself as like this ocean. I want to dive into myself, swim down deep within me, and surface up things of my life. Literally get it to the surface, up to the open air, and that's the best way that I can, release things. And so that's what I started to feel of my body, thinking about my family, thinking about my, the past grievings that I haven't grieved, like things that I needed to continue to grieve on and forgive myself about, and even apologize to somebody, or even love myself, give myself the love that I sought out when I was younger, and all these things. I started to feel that. And it wasn't like a psychedelic like experience where like some crazy, like I'm like, yeah, like I was in the room, like I was somewhere completely. It felt like more like a dream. Like, yeah, like it's and like not a vivid dream, but just, pretty much like a conscious dream, and where I'm just like, no, I'm pretty just, I'm aware of what's going on, and I am in control of this in some fashion, where I can choose to pick like what it is that I'm drawn to and what I want to help myself through. And that's what I started to feel.
So you're talking about how traumas, and that's the word we're using today, but
Yes.
they reside in our bodies in certain places. And as you're talking about that, one of the traumas of my life was my dad dying of colon cancer when I was 25 years old. And as you're talking, I started thinking of my dad, and I started, not a pain, but I started feeling a sensation down in my lower belly, somewhere near my colon, and
Wow.
yeah, it was kind of interesting. And then I have a question for you. So you've gone through this experience. Does it feel like a spiritual thing that you went through, or is it a mind over body, matter, whatever the case is? Was it your mind that you were working on, or a spiritual, soulful kind of thing?
It's funny. I was the next morning, my mom called me, and she was asking me about it. And when I was explaining it to her, there was a point where my mom's a devout Catholic woman, who is definitely very spiritual and
Right.
very in tune with that. And I am very, I would say I'm a pretty spiritual person myself. And there was a point where she was kind of, when I was telling her about it, she was like, so like make sure you go to church like after this, because it almost, to her it felt like not witchcraft, but like just something that's non-secular,
Yep.
something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, is this appropriate in some fashion? Like, is this like would God want you to do this type of thing? And I was trying to explain to her, I was like, this is not like outside the realm of what God would want you to do. This isn't like something God wouldn't want you to do. This is like, it felt like a tool. It felt like, is meditation against like the Catholic Church? That's what it felt like. It was like, no, like this, it just felt like a really intensive meditation. And it felt very much like a tool, which sort of gives me that the feeling of mind over matter. It puts it more in that category for me, where, and not mind over matter, but the fact of like we have the tools within ourselves to get to places and to release things that are in ourselves, and that's sort of the feeling.
That's the whole thing is really fascinating. I do want to go back to something else. You made mention of it's not like being on shrooms or anything like that.
Yeah.
In my lifetime, and it's probably been 40 years, no, 25 years since I've done anything. But in my lifetime, in terms of illicit substances,
Uh-huh.
I've smoked pot maybe 10 times in my life total, and I snorted cocaine maybe 4 or 5 times in my life, and that's it. That is the total sum of experience I have with things.
Yeah. Okay.
So, without getting into specifics, would you say that you and your friends have more experience with more types of things than that?
Yeah, I've done shrooms. I've done shrooms in Joshua Tree. I've done the whole like, all right, I'm camping out with my friends. Like, it's like perfect timing. My friends who are very experienced in doing that are like, they're splitting it up. They're like telling me how to take it, and we're all, and it doesn't feel forced, and I'm there wanting to do it. Boom, I'm having like a phenomenal experience, and I do feel like I am tapping into something new and that was definitely, I've had that shrooms experience, and the shrooms actually felt, I would say I would liken it to a more spiritual experience than mind over matter, like trickery or whatever. And again, this even when he was the guy shaman, sometimes like that word shaman like comes into my mind, but I like refuse to like acknowledge the man as that type of thing. Whatever, the guy leading it, the guru, whatever, is explaining how people do get ayahuasca like visions during this sort of practice. And when I was doing it, it's not like someone's holding a gun to your head saying like, you need to like breathe faster, you need to go. So people are allowed to go at their own pace. If they start to feel a fear, or they just feel like they can't go as hard as like the leader telling them like, hey, like that, like keep up, like, or not keep up, but like, hey, this is what I need to do this, like keep at this beat. And so people are allowed to kind of chill out on their own. When I started doing the rhythms, I had accepted that I am like fully committing to like giving a full effort, or as much as I can, my best effort. And that fear of like the whole like fear of dying, like I was like, that's a file in my brain, just delete that file. Like I am committing to like, it's just like, hey, like we're gonna run up that hill as fast as possible. That's the feeling. It was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna run as fast as possible up that hill. And so when I was doing it, there were moments where I would start to feel almost like I was easing off of the visual aid that the breath work was giving me, because I started to be complacent with like the breathing, where I was like, oh, you know what? I don't need to go so hard. I can kind of chill out a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? No, like I need to like give as much of myself to this. And I would like really give a big effort to like go back into breathing like really hard so I could get to the place as close as possible to this, again, to the psychedelic experience. I mean, I never got that psychedelic experience, but I wanted to like reach as close as possible to the point of where somebody could be like, hey, like you, like, hey, I did a really good job. I really swam deep. That's what it was. I was like, I needed more water in the tank, and the best way to do that for me was to just do that breath, and I wanted more so I could swim deeper into myself. And so I sought that out while I was doing it.
So have you ever um, been breathing really hard and started to feel lightheaded?
For sure. It was
So,
for sure.
and I'm not trying to take away anything from your experience, but I'm wondering if they get you breathing so hard, so fast, that your brain actually starts to, you start getting lightheaded and it allows you to stop thinking. Or I don't know. Is what I'm saying making any sense at
Yeah, no,
all?
no. What you are saying is 100% in the direction of what that breath work did. So that was it, it's it's like it's exactly that. It's just that. It's like, yeah, there's a lightheadedness. It's just, hey, if you took that beyond that, and if you felt safe enough, and you were like being led by somebody, and you and honestly, and you sought this out, like, because it's, again, it's not something that, it's not like you're just gonna grab somebody off the street right now and tell them, hey, like, lay down, do this, and we're gonna get to work with it. Like they're not going to go, they're probably not going to give their best effort to do this
Right,
because they're not seeking this.
right.
And
They're not
because of that, they're not going to reach a level of, what I'm saying. And again, I'm not saying like there's a profoundness of what I reach, but I'm just saying, like, in what I was doing, I was seeking it out. Like, I was like, I want to do this. Like, this is what I'm giving a fucking really good effort in what I believe I'm giving my own personal, like, best effort so that I can get, not, yeah, maybe an enlightenment of some sort, but just definitely a release of some sort. That's what I
Go,
was like. That's what I was
go
doing.
back to the enlightenment thing. Let's go back to the 2 days beforehand where you're questioning whether or not you want to go. So what what drove you to go? Meaning, what were you hoping to get out of it? What did you think it was going to bring you, or was it just a new experience?
Uh, I wanted the new experience. I knew it wasn't, it's funny. These experiences are becoming familiar, and and they're overlapping. The psychedelic experiences, meditation, this breath work, they're not unlike each. I mean, they're obviously different, but it's there's a north star somewhere. There is a north star that, me even having the desire and the intent of walking to this, like, down this path, it's leading me somewhere here, in this path. And so, me doing this breathwork activity, I was seeking out this, release mostly. I could tell that. And it's definitely because over the last several months of my life, I don't, for a good amount of time. I can't even tell you how long, but definitely a long time in my life, in my recent life, that I've been feeling, I'm like, man, I want to give myself more permission to cry. I want to give myself more permission to feel things in my life. And I do have a big, I do have a big, I make a big effort to to tell myself, like, hey, let's carry this weight. Let's be resilient. Let's take this, whatever it is that I'm dealing with in life. Let's just take it. Like, let's just fucking deal with it and let's just move on. And even that was something big that resonated while I was doing the breath work. That was one of the things that, this guy was leading us through and talking to us, verbally saying like, hey, like, I know you think that you need to carry all that weight on you, like, let it out. You scream it out, cry it out. And then at that time, you would hear people in the room like shouting, howling. You would hear big cries. You would hear people laughing. And mostly or even just like their own personal humming, because whatever, like, people are seeking whatever it is that they're seeking in, like, through this as a vehicle, to get to that point. And for me, again, what's leading me to do this is, this experience of like tapping into my best self. That's constantly what I'm seeking through everything. How we met is through a meeting, which is about reaching our best self. It's not something, I'm not looking for band-aids. Like, I'm looking to really do some, like, real fucking work on myself. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to just, take some aspirin. Like, I want to be my best self. I know that's out there. And you know what's funny? Even as I am so used to saying I know it's out there, but with this breath work and just like all the things that I continue to do in my life, it's not out there. It's right here. It's already in us. Like, the work needs to be done to let go of all the bullshit so that I could get there. And that's what I even now I'm like, okay, how do I say these words without having them being self-serving, with having humility, without feeling like, hey, like I'm a guru, like, hey, follow me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like even now I want to be so mindful constantly of just I'm being met with humility constantly. So I'm okay. Like, I know I could talk about this and not feel like I'm preaching or something like that, but it really is true, because I know people feel the same way. The idea that your best self is in you, it's not outside of you. You don't have to chase it. You have to really you're removing the bullshit, and that's how you get your best self. And that's what it is that I was
You're
seeking.
not coming across, to me at least, as someone who is preachy or anything like that. You're very much describing your personal experience. And, if I've learned anything over the past few years is everyone's got different personal experiences. And, the dick who cut you off in traffic yesterday might very well just be an asshole. Also very well might have just lost somebody, a loved one. And, you just don't know. And for so many years of my life, I assumed that I knew. And my first assumption was, well, they're just an asshole. And I didn't allow for a second or a third assumption.
Yeah.
So everything is very personal. Can I tell you what I hear you saying?
Please,
Why you did this?
Yeah.
So, first of all, I think in some ways you wanted to conquer a fear. I think you were somewhat fearful of it. And you wanted to show yourself that you didn't need to, that you could overcome that fear. That's one thing. The other thing I feel or hear is, and I think this is true of myself in different ways, and it goes back to, where we met. In some ways, you're looking for direction. Now, I know you know it's inside, but the direction is not, it's not a map on how to get there, like you're saying. It's more a map on how to find it within yourself. That's what I hear you saying. You're looking for direction, and you're trying to conquer fears that you may have, rational or irrational.
That right there is a really good observation, because that's definitely the push is constantly like, I know you're afraid of this. Let's not be afraid of this.
Yeah.
Let's go through, let's push ourselves to get past that so that we're not afraid of this. That's definitely a big, like, constant in my life, is that.
And that's, I would say, congratulations. That's, everyone has fears, and I don't know what the percentage is, but I bet you at least 80% of the people, they don't face their fears. They go around them, or they push them off to the side. So facing fears is really, really important, and it's part of the baby steps that I'm taking to make myself a better person, is trying to overcome fears, but on really, really small level. Hoping someday.
I mean, do you feel like the fear that you have is, like, what is that fear? Like, what do you think the fear is for you?
Humiliation.
Okay.
And to some degrees, you said that to start all of this off. You were afraid you were going to make a fool of yourself by crying or screaming or something like that. But you overcame that. I think fear for everyone is, about failure. When I say humiliation, that's failure.
I agree. I agree, by the way. Yeah, that's 100%. Continue on.
And failure in everything. Failure in relationships, just failure in life. All the little failures add up to your life, right? And all the successes as well. They all come together to make your life. In my case, I've talked about this before with my hearing loss and being a young kid and just being teased about, the way I talk and my speech and stuff like that. And it was so humiliating to me, and it hurts so much. And I think I've spent my entire life trying to figure out ways that I won't put myself in that position, because I fear that feeling.
And do you feel like there is something in your life that you can move towards that would be you being less fearful or being more courageous?
I'm searching for it.
Okay.
And again, I'm taking small steps to try to conquer some of the smaller fears. Just dumb things. I avoid doing things because I think the outcome is going to be painful or expensive or something like that.
Oh yeah. By the way, this cost $113. So I was also like, fuck, man, $100. Like I felt like I was like, but you know what's funny? I was like $100. All of a sudden, didn't seem that expensive for me in the moment. I was like $100, like $113, like whatever, dude. Like I've spent that amount of money in a weekend on drinks and food, like whatever. Like let's just do it. So I get that feeling. The experience was definitely brought a lot up. It allowed me to bring a lot up. That's what it was. It allowed me to have space to grab these things, as I said, like the analogy, like swimming up to the surface with them, feel these things, to even strengthen, because I have love for my family. I have love for certain people in my life, and I was able to I thought about these people, and I and I was very happy for these relationships, and I was really grateful and appreciative of these relationships. So it re-strengthened those feelings. And it even told me, though, like things that I would like to work on in these relationships. And again, it left to me the next day. I felt like the best way to explain it was like, yeah, it felt like an ocean of me surfacing these things up. But then it also, all these things were like out on shore. Like it's like all the seaweed, like stuff that from like shipwrecks and fish out of water. And it was just raw. It was like all out there. And it's like, okay, now what do I do with all this stuff? And so that was also kind of the residual feeling a bit. And just that, like I had made mistakes in my life, and even afterwards, I was like, man, like checking my intentions with certain things, and kind of feeling like, hey man, am I taking steps backwards by doing this? And thinking about all that type of stuff. So it felt very raw, but I knew it was an exceptionally like positive experience for myself. So I just knew that was a good thing. Like, let's just keep it moving. Like, good. Yeah.
With your mom being so committed to the Catholic Church and faith, how in the world did she find this and pass it on to you, thinking you would want to do it?
Because she is a Pasadena yoga mom. Because, like it's a targeted ad. Like it just, like that's totally her demographic. It's like, she's a holistic person who literally falls under, like, it's like 100%, I saw like 150 versions of my mom in the room. I was like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. My mom will also, like, my mom's like the biggest, like, she'll see something and she'll just like send it. Like she doesn't really think about it too much. Like she'll just be like, oh, this looks funky. Like, here you go. So like, she's not like, I think you'd really like this. She's just kind of like, oh, here, check this out. Like I saw this for like 1 second. Here you go. But I mean, it's kind of like that intuitive, thing where it's like, yep, well, here you go. Like, this is the one thing that I actually was down for, and I did it.
Yeah,
So
moms have that ability, right?
yeah, that's 100%.
So I have a story for you. Speaking of things being sent, my youngest daughter sent me, I guess it was a TikTok video, and it was the most amazing thing. So this is going to be a long story.
No,
So
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
We have to go back to when I worked in New Jersey. And at the time, I had my wife bring down our 3 daughters, and they must have been 5, 7, and 10 years old. Okay, and we were going to go into New York City. Stay where I was staying. No cost of driving down, and then we'd drive into the city, which was maybe 30 minutes from where we were in New Jersey. And so I went to my boss, who, she's a lifelong New Yorker. I said, so what should, I got my kids coming down. What should we do? And she tells me of this theme restaurant. Okay? And I wish I could remember the name of it. But she told me where it was, and she said, yeah, your kids will love it. And what it is, it's a restaurant. Again, it's a theme restaurant in New York City. It's a tourist trap, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But the inside of the restaurant is designed like the bar scenes in Star Wars.
Okay.
It has this, music going on, but all of the wait staff look like aliens.
Are they like dressed up?
Yeah. And they
Okay.
they have masks on, and I mean,
What do they call it? What, in Star Wars? It's a something cantina. Damn it, I'm trying to remember it.
I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
I
Just
do.
all these weird, different, intergalactic type people.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what this place was. It was, and and my kids, all three of them, nearly pooped their pants. I mean, they were scared shitless,
Wow.
and it had a lasting impression on them. So much so that somebody put this video on TikTok. A woman who's like, I don't know, she looks like she was 23, 24 years old. And the whole premise of it was she shows a video of the inside of this very same restaurant, right? Of all these
Uh-huh.
weird creatures.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it starts with a self shot, and then it goes to the video of the inside, and she goes, ah! She goes, 20 years later, I'm still freaking out about, and it's exactly what my kids went through. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same restaurant. And my daughter saw it, and she said it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That's wild.
But,
It's
and
so this restaurant is still around?
who
You
knows? I
don't think
mean,
so? You don't think so? But it was just it was just like the fact that like the woman was screaming like at like an old video of the restaurant.
yeah, up
Okay.
for experience in the
Yeah, yeah,
restaurant.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And you know, uh, I thought it was just my kids being wimpy.
yeah. I mean, you know what's so funny about those types of places? It really is it's kind of a hit or miss where kids are either into it or they're just like, this is like terrifying. Like, I'm not into this at all. Like, I was into the Rainforest Cafe. I was into it.
Yeah,
I loved the like fish tank,
yeah,
archway with like, the animals. Like, like it didn't seem scary. It only seemed a little scary. It seemed kind of scary when they would do the whole like lightning thunder moment where like the gorillas were beating on the chest, but like it wasn't like very, very scary. It was just like, ooh, oh, 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 whoa, oh, whoa.
No, I used
So
to
I
take
know that
my kids
feeling.
there, and my youngest one was, I don't want to say she was the worst, but she had the greatest fear. And even when we went to Disney World, she would get nowhere near Mickey or Minnie or Pooh Bear. She wanted to watch them, but at a really, really safe distance.
Whoa, okay.
And I don't know if that if that's a direct result of our experience in that restaurant or what. But um, I hope that wasn't a totally boring story. It was just, to me, it was amazing that somebody else had the exact same experience that my kids did.
Oh, 100, I'm like, that's 1,000%. I'm like, I'm so short of that. It's like that type of place is delivering nightmares for years, for sure. By the way, your kids need to go do this breath work and release all that body trauma from this restaurant.
Yeah, they should.
That's exactly what this
Yeah,
place
I'm
is.
sure it's sitting in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, my oldest daughter had watched Star Wars with me, so I thought it would be okay with her. Actually, I didn't know what we were getting into, in all honesty, until we.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay, so you were like to me, it's a very typical like movie scene. At this point, are you like a single dad, single
No,
parent?
no, no. This is the mother and I and the three kids.
Okay, so this is just you just being like, all right, like heard about this place,
Yep.
let's just go.
Well,
Like
let's
we're
go
just
do it.
going.
It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. This is like National Lampoons, like Chevy Chase taking his kids somewhere, and like you're just like, oh shit, place is a nightmare.
Now, in hindsight, the woman who told me this had a daughter that was like 2 years old at the time. So I doubt she had taken her. But she had two stepsons that were in their mid to late teens.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm confident that they went there with those with the boys who are in their teens, not a problem, right?
For sure.
And, you know,
That's just a whole different demographic. That's
I
just a
didn't
whole
know.
different
I
demographic.
still don't know. You know, I just didn't get the girl thing.
You weren't. You feel like you weren't a good girl dad.
No, I definitely was not a good girl dad.
Okay.
You know, my middle one was a cheerleader, but man, was she athletic. I mean, truly what we should have done is put her in gymnastics.
Oh,
Because,
that good. Like she was
yeah,
like
yeah,
super capable.
she really, I mean, she can just stand on the sidewalk and do a backflip. Just boom.
That's a physical goal of mine. I want to be able to dunk a basketball and to literally jump and do a backflip.
Well, yeah, get a lot of practice on a trampoline post and in a pit.
I'm
Okay.
actually phenomenal. I'm good. This is for the, I'm glad that this is video recording. On the record, I'm phenomenal on trampolines. Trampoline and like those like trampoline parks. You know what I'm talking about? Like those like in warehouse, like trampoline, like Sky Zone or whatever.
Yes. Where
Like
they have like a million trampolines.
I fucking wreck kids. I don't give a shit if
Really?
you're like if you're 10 years old, I don't give a shit. I'm playing you in dodgeball. I'm literally wrecking you, dude. I don't care at all, dude. I literally murdered like preteens when I was there. It was like me and my like 6 cousins, and we were just like it was me and my 4 cousins and like 2 friends, and we are all there. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit, dude. I'm throwing balls at these kids, dude. I loved it. That's my like peak life enjoyment is just being in there and just fucking ruining kids, dude. Hell yeah.
Being the king of the pit, huh?
Oh, just like absolutely just laying trauma on them, dude. Just like, I hope you go to therapy for this, dude. Like that's what I'm like looking forward to.
I assume you saw the movie Dodgeball.
Yes, 100,000%.
I've seen it like 10 times.
I love that movie. It's like one of my favorite movies to quote.
So did we talk about Top Gun last time?
I don't know if I finally saw the new one.
Did you?
Uh,
I haven't seen it. How was it?
it's fun. It's a fun movie. It's cheesy, but it's exactly what you think it would be because it's Top Gun. It's Tom
Did
Cruise.
you see
And you're
Top
just
Gun?
like, I saw Top Gun, the original one, like 2 days before I saw the new Top Gun, because I wanted to be like, oh, like, I want to know if there's going to be any like thing or whatever references. And thankfully I did. Like there was, and I paid attention to it like really well, the very first one, to where the new one, like when they brought up certain things, I was like really quick to be like, oh, I know exactly what they're talking about.
Um, and tell me, does Tom Cruise look any different between the two movies?
I mean, absolutely. Like Tom Cruise is an what I think is he 58 or something like that?
He's got maybe 1 or 2 years on me, which would put him at 58, 59.
I think he's like something like that. Dude,
Uh,
beast, dude. You need to get on that fucking Tom Cruise workout session, dude. That's what you need to get on, Steven, for sure. Like, the guy he's just like Mission Impossible ready, dude. He's like, just total Chad. Total just like, but it's like, he's still a goober, you know what I mean? Like, you're not a cool dude, like, you're like general population cool guy. Like you're like, he's like, hey, like, like I'm cool, I'm on the motorcycle. It's like, yeah, a lot of it is cool stuff. Like you're on the motorcycle, the chicks dig you and stuff like that. That's cool. But it's like you're a nerd. Like you're Tom Cruise, you're cheesy. And like you're too cheesy. Like it's not cool guy.
Here's the brilliance of Tom Cruise. He is not. Who's the guy? He's not Cary Grant. You know who Cary Grant was?
I do.
Okay. He's not Cary Grant. He is, just as you said, he is cornball, but he's cool, okay? So I can look at him and I can say, I could actually obtain that. I could get there.
Wait, you feel like that though about Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
That's a real question, dude. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I can get to Tom Cruise level. That's what you need to ask yourself that.
Wait, we got to make sure we're talking about the same thing here.
Okay, that's true. All right, what do you mean by that?
I don't think I could be Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise. I don't think I could be Maverick, okay? But I think his corniness, I can match that.
Okay, but you're like I can be corny and charming too, right, Tom?
He's not in the stratosphere. He's not so far away that he can't be reached.
Right. But, well, the corniness makes him the human. It's like,
yes.
It's, man, I'm trying to like, in like the original Top Gun, when he's like, the corniness is what also makes him seem like he is, or like what the things that makes him seem like he's really confident. He's willing to like, like start singing this song in a bar, and then all the pilots are singing, and then he like wins like the seat with the girl, so he can start chatting up with her. Then he's like willing to walk into the girl's room with her and like start talking to her. It's like those things are cheesy, like those are the cheesy things. Those aren't like damn, like I wish like I had the moves like that. It's like that's what's being sold, but that's not actually what cool is. Like they're just like manufacturing. Like even the way he talks, like in the Top Gun when he walks in and he's just like just like whoa, like even a guy like you can get laid in here. It's like, oh my god, dude, like this is so cheesy, it's so corny, dude. It's like so not smooth. It's not smooth. That's what it is.
It was so 1987.
But that is exactly what it felt like too. When I watched the original Top Gun, I was like, this feels like that time. Yep. This feels like it's talking to the same audience who is absorbing and watching 16 Candles and Weird Science and growing up with even just like the coolness of Back to the Future and like all of that, because even Marty McFly is kind of cheesy, but Marty McFly is actually much cooler than Maverick. Like I'm like that's 100%. Marty McFly is way cooler than Maverick. I'm gonna 100% lay that on the ground. Maverick is a stunner. Like he's like in his like early to mid 20s, I think, in that movie. Tom Cruise in the original Top Gun.
Absolutely. Again, he's only 2 years older than me. So 87 is the year so it came out in 86, 87. I graduated from college in 87. That would have made me 22, so he's 23, 24 years old.
Yeah, 100% within that. It's like you're fucking prime, dude. Look at you. You're ripped. You're like doing like. By the way, it's so homoerotic. It's wild, dude.
The volleyball scene, right? I was just thinking about that.
By the way, the entire movie, they're sweating. The entire movie, they have like drips and drops of water on them the entire time. Like they're just like every moment is like, are we gonna make out right now or what? Like that's what it felt like the entire time. Like it was just like I was like, dude, I got a boner right now, and it's literally just from watching these guys just like hash it out. Like it's not even from this like love scene.
I couldn't agree more.
Dude, that was exactly the vibe for sure.
Yeah, if I was gonna go bit gay, it was either gonna be Iceman or Mav.
It was good for sure, dude. I was like, I guess today's the day, If that's exactly, I was like, man, like this is the vibe of it. That's what that was. Top Gun, the Maverick, the new one, it played more into blockbuster cheesiness rather than like the like original type of corny stuff, whatever. Like it played more into what people would find corny about like Fast and the Furious and like, you know, movies from The Rock or whatever. Like that's what that.
Do you like the Mission Impossible movies, or do you find them cheesy?
Yes, I like Mission Impossible. I like I think I like James Bond more than I like Mission Impossible though. I think James Bond is sexier, so I think I gravitate towards that.
Bond is cool.
Bond, that exactly about like Bond has some corniness, but like some cheesiness, but it's honestly like due to the plot and like one of those like he does a bunch of cool shit, and then at the end of it, like he falls through like racks of like old like construction in Cuba, and boom, he has a bunch of dust on him, like he kicks ass, and then at the very end he like dusts himself off. Like it's like, yeah, that's cheesy, but like yes, he is badass, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's like, and he's smooth, always gets the girl, you know? Like total Chad. So yes, I'm more James Bond than I am Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible is super duper dope too. And it's for the fact that Tom Cruise does the stunts because he's willing, because he's literally psycho enough to do that.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, you look at some of those stunts, they're crazy.
That's it. Yeah, but Tom Cruise, total Chad, 100%.
So do you ever drive up the coast, 101? Do you ever go up north?
I haven't done it in a very long time, but yes.
I'm trying to think what it was. I think it's about Ventura, right off of 101.
Mm-hmm.
There's this big-ass building, and it says Scientology. Is that the home of Scientology, or?
They have a number of buildings. Actually, I think the main one it's in Hollywood.
Okay.
And it's like, I was gonna say it's really beautiful, but it's not necessarily beautiful, but it's kind of granular. Like when you see the building, you're kind of just like, whoa, like, damn, this is kind of wild. And it's like right off of like L. Ron Hubbard Way, you know?
Aha, okay.
But listen, by the way, I'm like, what are they doing over there that, you know, that keeps Tom so young looking, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the secret sauce? What's the secret juice that they got you on, dude? Because if that's what it is, if that's what it takes, signing up, you know, pledging my life to the aliens, all right, man, sign me up.
Yeah, he seems pretty happy.
Yeah, he just seems like, again, Tom Cruise is a nerd. Like, he's not like this cool, sophisticated, cool guy, you know? It's like, you're a nerd. That's why you're obsessive with, like, these things. Like, you're not obsessive with these things being a cool guy. Like, when you become obsessive with things, like, that's a nerdy thing. And not in a bad way. It's literally just that. It's like, I'm nerdy when it comes to, like, art and, like, weird cultural things, you know, of my era, like what we call like hypebeast culture and stuff like that, like things that, again, of the internet that I'm obsessed with. Like, I'm a nerd about those things. Tom Cruise is a nerd when it comes to like, dude, yeah, I want to like jump out of planes and like I want to like, you know, do that stuff. So it's seemingly cool looking, but it's still very nerdy.
So the story of Tom Cruise's life is all summed up in the movie Risky Business.
I was gonna literally, dude, exactly that, like Risky Business, man.
I mean, he was a nerd. Even though he didn't look like a nerd, he was a nerd in that movie.
That's exactly it.
He had like two friends who were definitely nerds.
Yes.
And all of a sudden he's driving around in this Porsche, and he's got this hot escort who, you know, just.
It's that. It's literally that. It's that.
momentarily he turns into this cool person, but then he goes back to being a nerd again.
I wonder if that was like post Weird Science or before, but it's definitely it's that vibe. Like they just it's a teen flick.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But it's what got him going.
But then again, the movie is fun. I do recommend it. Like I'm like, if you want to have fun watching a movie, it's a fun movie to watch. Like that's what you want. You want explosions. You want like, a full experience. You feel because of the sound. You're in a nice like reclining lounge chair, and you feel it. When things are exploding or whatever. That's what I'm looking forward to in a movie. All right. You started to glitch out. I feel like this might be the time to.
Yeah, and your mouth is moving without your sounds. Okay, well, this has been a different one, and I've really enjoyed it. It sounds like you had a great experience on Friday, and I really appreciate you sharing it with the detail that you did and the passion you did. So
absolutely, that was good. It was good. Yeah, it was a great time.
Next time, I want to talk about Judge Kavanaugh.
Ooh, okay.
And the not him per se, but the threat on his life.
The threat on his life.
Well, did
okay.
you hear some guy tried to kill him?
To be honest, I only heard it from conservative people in my family. I haven't heard it from anybody else. So that's, by the way,
that is a problem.
Just saying. You know what I mean?
No, but I knew that, not in your case, but I knew that the mainstream media didn't pay any attention to it.
So, but that's what I mean. I'm like, I know where it's coming from, like where that news is, the attention of that. So.
Yep. No, that's true. No, there was a guy standing outside of his house with, a Glock, a couple of magazines, a knife, hand tie, those white things, ties.
Oh, the zip ties.
Zip ties. Thank you.
Yeah.
He had duct tape, all this stuff in a little bag, and he came all the way from Simi Valley.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, people.
But he didn't get in, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's like, all right, well, another one bites the dust. All right.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.
Peace out.